Back here at the Freemasons place. Sugar Ray Robinson, wasn't he a boxer? I've always believed that you can think positive just as well as you can think negative. Joppa Lodge. There's a lot to be known about the Masons, not that I know it. Masons make a difference. Richard Kessler, most worshipful Grand Master of New York. So this is, since 1873, Freemasonry teaches not merely temperance, fortitude, prudence, justice, brotherly love, relief, and truth, but liberty, equality, and fraternity. And it denounces ignorance, superstition, bigotry, lust, tyranny, and despotism. Teddy Roosevelt, Matinacock Lodge, Oyster Bay, Long Island, New York. I'm responsible only for what I say, not what you understand. Brother John Wayne. See, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I'm responsible only for what I say, not what you understand. I think that might be fundamental. I'm not an expert on Freemasons. I just know that it's here, and I walk by it every day, basically. You can't really go in there. I mean, they have a lot of very sophisticated cameras. That looks like the one that I identified when I first met Larry Klayman. I had gone to the Bundy trial in Vegas. Larry was representing the Bundy family, remember, with the Mallard Duck Ranch or something. The Bundys had the land, and the Bureau of Land Management was trying to take it, standoff, guns, all that. They threw him in jail. It was an amazing story. The Bundy family are an amazing group if you haven't met them. And so anyway, but the point is, Masons. There's a lot of Masonic imagery around this Donald Trump assassination attempt. I noticed it from the very beginning. And the thing is, I talk about it not because it's like magic or some kind of, I don't know, witchcraft. But what did John Wayne just say? He's only responsible for what he says, not what you understand. See, I'm looking at the symbols and the hidden meanings in these things, because I think that's what he's talking about. They're going to tell you everything, but it's in a code. And if you don't know what they're talking about, that's your problem, not their problem. I think that's what they're saying. By the way, I don't know. A lot of this stuff that I share with everybody, these are my opinions, kind of formed from looking at public domain evidence like that. You might read that thing from John Wayne and you might think it means something else, disagree with what I'm saying. You're allowed to do that. It's just a conversation, anecdotal musings as I walk around the deteriorating city of New York, the once great, Home Depot. They had there's Home Depot there. That's just the exit. But they had here like the Guatemala embassy or something. That closed. I don't know why. It looked busy as hell to me. So that closed. Almost everything is closed. But the Masonic imagery. So, I mean, again, this American Glass research, that struck me immediately, right when the story started breaking, and the fact that there was all this running around on the road. I was like, what the hell is going on there? And then I took one look at the logo, and I was like, boom, that just looks like Masonic imagery. By the way, I think this whole area around here in New York is pretty much, though it's like their turf or something. We have other people, like I said, are going to know more than me, but I think maybe even the Flatiron Building. I don't know what the Freemasons are all about. Masonry, stonework, obviously, but I mean, if you go to Philadelphia, they have a huge Masonic hall. I've spoken about it. People have seen, if you've been watching since the days of hanging out with Quinn Michaels when I was in Philadelphia, I actually went into the Masonic Hall, and they basically said, you know, GTFOH. Didn't like it. Kicked me out pretty quickly. But I would like to go in there. I would like to know. I'm not accusing them of anything. I just am legitimately kind of like intrigued by the mystery of like, what the hell is that? I don't think there really is a museum of... Anyway, the point is, the American Glass Research logo just looked to me very Masonic. Now, I haven't found any like direct photographs or records of our buddy Frank W. Preston, the scientist who created American Glass Research. I haven't seen him on a list wearing a Masonic robe like Walt Disney or something like that. If you haven't seen that, just Google it. I think Walt Disney pretty well known. Is this Rosie O'Donnell? Rosie. I think Walt Disney is a pretty well-known Freemason, or at least if you don't know that, you're going to go look up some stuff on Google and be like, wait a minute, what? But yeah, they have this Club 33 at Disney. And I mean, is that just like, oh, coincidence, he likes the number 33, or is the number 33 some sort of coded message that when it is properly included in the right way at the right time, like John Wayne says, he's telling you, if you don't get it, well, you're too stupid to know what time it is. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't plan that, seriously. I did want to talk about the time though, because that, I think, is where our Masonic message lies at the core of this whole entire thing. 6:11 and 33 seconds. It's amazing. I mean, whether that's a made-up time, Doug Mills time. Oh wait, I forgot there's more Masonic artifacts that we could examine. That girl needs to eat some of that food. That was one of the thinnest people I've ever seen. Right, look at all this. I think this is kind of, let's go walk over there and look at that a bit, and this park too. I mean, we spend a lot of time in Madison Square Park, but I don't know if we've really examined. People could look into this if you're interested, but 6:11:33. So there's the 33 there at the end, and 6:11, a lot of people say 9:11. The 11 may symbolically represent, what is it, Boaz and those two pillars. People in the chat will know what I'm talking about. See, I'm saying I'm not an expert in this stuff. I'm not claiming to educate people on this. I'm asking questions about it. I'm aware that there's something going on with all this. And to be clear, I'm not saying like, oh, you know, the Masons did it. The Masons are evil, doing everything. I'm not saying that. I like that. I'm not, oh yeah, Boaz and Hakim, the two pillars, right? I think 11 is supposed to symbolize that. And the Twin Towers, 9/11, 6/11. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, you might look at this same evidence and say that's crazy, numerology nonsense. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you could look at everything we've been told about this assassination attempt against Donald Trump. Maybe people know, maybe this is Masonic, I don't even know. But the buildings around here, these archways and stuff, I'm told, and things they have written there, indicate. But I mean, you could either believe everything we've been told here about July the 13th and the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, that a 20-year-old dunce who looks a lot like somebody dressed up like the Invisible Man going shopping with Crooks' dad and being bitchy at news cameras, I don't know, looks like that to me. You could either believe that that 20-year-old kid is wiring vans with explosives and flying drones when other people say there's no cell phone service, or Even the Secret Service with a $3 billion budget, this kid probably have a difficult time charging 300 bucks on an American Express card. Yeah, of course, UBS. I mean, doesn't it even look like skulls or 666? What do we have in this crazy logo? V's and E's and F's and, you know, I don't know. I think there's a lot to this symbology. Somebody sat around and decided what the hell that logo was going to be. They didn't just willy-nilly whip it out. So there's something going on. I don't know what it is. I'm sure people watching know more than I do. Maybe we get a parabolic audio effect in here. I don't know. Can you hear people if you stand on one side of this or something like that? You don't know. Anyway, I'm just saying, there's a lot of interesting architecture around Madison Square Park here. Masonic imagery, Masonic, these numbers, that number, 6-11-33. It's very important to CBS News, right? I mean, they want to tell you, hey, 6-11 and 33 seconds. Why didn't they just tell you 6-11? Why didn't they just tell you July 13th? They don't ever really tell you the time that Kennedy was shot, right? It's just November 22nd, 11:22. What is that? Also 33. Could be a coincidence. I could be crazy, but I'm just putting forth the theory, the hypothesis, the suggestion that Masons were very involved in the creation of the United States of America. I mean, we know that. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, they're standing there fighting over the napkin or whatever, the handkerchief in front of the Masonic Hall in Philadelphia. What is that? Who put that there? I think the Masons, so they know what it is. I don't. I'm asking. That's the crowdsourcing of the truth part. I know just by saying this. People actually already told me. I have it back at the apartment and, you know, direct messages and emails and stuff. People say, oh, this guy, that guy, expert on Freemasons, have him on. I will. I'm not ignoring you. I've just been so super busy with so many things. And primarily the thing that I want to talk about, I'm talking about this Masonic stuff because it's important, you know, with regard to this Giga Sync. If you haven't seen that, there's a lot of people maybe who aren't following on X. It was Twitter. I still like the name Twitter better. I mean, I think I don't like Twitter, but whatever. It's X. We got Elon Musk talking to Trump tonight on X. Very interesting. Media, politics, money, technology, all this stuff coming together. It's interesting. They want you to live in interesting times. I think we're doing that. But if you're not following on X, maybe consider going there. You could watch Trump on an X Spaces tonight. I guess, so you need to have that on the phone, or I think you need it on a laptop to listen to the Spaces. It's very confusing, some of this stuff. That reminds me, Patreon is having some sort of underwear in a knot issue with Apple. This, by the way, thank you to everybody who sponsors the show. I really want to thank the people who sponsor the show on patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. That was really the first monetized platform that I used, and they're the biggest, of course. Thank you, like I said, to everybody who's on there. But so this problem that they were describing has to do with the iOS App Store. Don't use the iOS app for Patreon with Crowdsource the Truth. It's killing me that this is happening because that app has been sort of the bane of my access to it the whole time. But if you don't use Patreon and you don't use the Patreon app on iOS, none of this affects you. But net, what they're saying is November or something, there's going to be a price increase due to some App Store problem with Apple. So if you never use the app, I don't think this will come anywhere near you. But if there's some sort of unexpected price increase, that is not coming from me. That's this Apple Patreon App Store war. And I think the easiest way around it is to, if that does affect you, is you could go, because I'm not trying to raise the price, I'm trying to lower the price. That's why I created the channel on odyssey.com/@crowdsource the truth. And it's a great way to sponsor the show and to support independent journalism, independent tech. Odyssey is a small startup tech company compared to Google, and even compared to Patreon, really. but it's a great service. Some people were reporting a little technical issue with Odyssey. Remember, they've just upgraded their whole entire platform to be censorship resistant. So it's been pretty amazing. I haven't even really noticed much of anything. That tech problem, I believe and hope, has been fixed. I was interacting with their tech support all week, and they're very helpful at Odyssey. Thank you, huge thank you to everybody who sponsors the show on Odyssey.com. But anyway, back to the Masonic imagery. I think it's important because, like John Wayne said, they're telling you everything they're doing, but you need the fancy schmancy decoder ring to understand what the hell they're talking about. And so this game begins where we know certain things and not others, and then they begin to inject, I think, falsehoods. We're deep in that now, and they're trying to challenge in a lot of different ways things that, you know, people who are bringing important information out, they now know what to go and challenge, right? We had these delayed video releases from Unsteady Dave. Now he becomes this social media hero where he's, look at all these delivery bikes. This has become such a crazy pain in the ass. It's like bike delivery row here. It's got a new subculture. But anyway, Dave is the new social media hero of the news, having to do with anything to do with the assassination. He now, somebody told me, overheard some conversation. I don't even want to repeat the contents because, frankly, without a recording of it, I'm really not too inclined to believe anything that dude says. I don't know why I should, right? He's cagey about releasing his original footage. He was handcuffed and we see him stuffed into a police car, or maybe he voluntarily enters a police car. But he could have been given an easy way, hard way conversation where, you know, hey, this way you've got a hock to that mother effer ain't real kind of social media career ahead of you, where you go on Joe Rogan and who was he going on? Chris Martinson, and didn't he say he was, oh, he's going to meet with Ron Johnson. So, right, so he wants to do the whole, you know, get a bunch of money kind of thing. I don't know if I believe what he says. We have all these body cams that have been released, but a lot of them are silent. So I'm burying my own lead here because I want to talk about the Giga Sync. What is the Giga Sync? If you're not on Twitter and haven't seen it, it is a project that I began, and this is where I've been kind of not doing as many videos the past couple days because I've been so busy with the Giga Sync. And let's sit down for a moment and have a look at it here in the park. I don't need to walk around constantly. The GigaSync is essentially a video database of all the known videos from July 13th. That doesn't mean it has all the videos. There's going to be videos that I don't know about, and there might be videos you know about that I don't. Please tell me about them if you see them there. But this all started, remember I had this interview with Doug Mills, and it was pretty difficult to believe that somebody could catch a bullet like that in a photograph, you know, and I didn't believe it.
Contemplate is what did Douglas Mills actually expect to capture in that 8,000th.
And we had this clip from the AI Hawkins that was telling us about, you know, Doug Mills. I guess the audio is a little low there. But just, you know, we've been doing a lot of contemplating of the unlikelihood of capturing the bullet. Doug was kind enough to come on the show and share that contact sheet. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to show everybody. His contact sheet, I had tried. We had this idea on a show with John Cullen where I was trying to get the contact sheet into like a video, you know, because we could see motion within the contact sheet. And it seemed like it could be a cool way. How do we get this to play again? I can't really get it to loop easily. Oh, I know how we could do it. I think if we set it to loop, see all this production stuff going live, it's a little difficult. Anyway, people just saw that bit of motion in there, tried to get Doug's series of photographs into a timeline as motion to understand what he saw as another unique position that ostensibly caught the bullet in midair. But what it really introduced, I mean, we didn't get to see the raw photo. I don't know if it was confusion of using Zoom, screen sharing. It's admittedly confusing, but we didn't get to see the raw photo. We did see the time. And it was like 1 minute, almost perfectly 1 minute off. And we don't know exactly, because we don't know which shot that was. We don't know exactly what the offset of Doug's camera is. But remember, I asked him how the camera gets the time. Does he set it like a microwave oven or a VCR? Or is it like your phone where it's automatically getting it from the internet? Which, by the way, I don't know that much about how the phone gets the time. I know it does it, it says the server, Apple, time, whatever. And I know that the Navy has an atomic clock, right? That cesium fountain clock was something that Hawkins used to talk about.
Blaise Pascal used to say, we have an obligation to think.
See, I have these great things prepared, but they're not. I didn't check the audio level. Sorry, everybody probably couldn't hear that. But it got me thinking about Hawkins again, because he spoke about the cesium fountain clock and the importance of timing of things. And also, I thought about this quote.
Blaise Pascal used to say, we have an obligation to think hard.
Yeah, Blaise Pascal, he was a mathematician or something, and Hawkins used to talk about him a lot. And so that whole, we have an obligation to think hard, I was thinking hard about this thing, and I was thinking, well, gee, at first, I incorrectly jumped to the conclusion that the clock in Doug's camera was correct, because he told us it's got Wi-Fi in the camera and it's set from the internet. So I just presumed it works the same way the phone does, and that the phone knows what time it is, and that there's some Navy cesium fountain counting the decay of uranium or however, cesium, however that thing works. It knows how long it takes and it measures something. I don't know, but I figured everybody just linked to that time and it was like that. But no, apparently not. There could be lots of other ways. So I started thinking hard, like Hawkins told me Blaise Pascal would want us to. And I said, well, how did they decide what time it was? Because obviously if CBS and CNN and all these people, they think it was 6:11 and 33 seconds when Trump got shot. Why do they all agree and Doug Mills not? So I decided, after seeing something that John Cullen did, that we needed a way to figure this out. John Cullen made the Mega Sync. And that was cool. That was, you know, he didn't invent this idea, of course. People have seen other people do this. With some event, they'll take all the different videos from it and try and synchronize them in time. You know, it's really just like doing a multi-camera shoot. If you went to a concert, you know, if you and 5 friends went to a concert and everybody had a video camera in a different position, and somebody was zoomed in and somebody was wide and somebody was in the front row and somebody was backstage, everybody records the concert, you could go and edit that together and make a little concert movie that looked pretty professional. But if you and 5 of your friends with cell phones went to a concert and did that, go try it. It's not very easy. And although there are a lot of tools that have come about to make that problem less difficult, it's easier now than it ever has been. For a long time, that was impossible. And if you were going to do a broadcast or a video recording or something like that, you needed all the cameras to be synchronized. And so the concept of time becomes very important. And we sort of have this presumption about this event and recordings that took place at the event, that everything was perfectly synchronized, and it's not. They're not. And even if they were, they're also not all running at the same speed. Each one of these recording devices introduces really kind of minuscule errors, time errors, imaging errors, sound errors, all kinds of errors. And we don't really know that much about the profile of the errors that they introduce. For instance, maybe I want to presume that Doug was telling us the truth. I have no reason to believe that Doug Mills was lying to me. He has presented some rather fantastic evidence, but he is a guy who finds himself in extraordinary situations, and he is extraordinarily skilled. And we do know that that Sony camera contains artificial intelligence software that Doug himself has said he doesn't fully understand the operation of. He could have engaged something thinking it does one thing, when in fact what it does is enable some high-speed mode where anytime high-speed motion is detected, a picture is automatically snapped. In fact, that's not even a remotely outrageous claim. We know that there are cameras that have these kind of sports modes and things like that. So there could be explanations for how he has the bullet in the photograph. There could be explanations that are non-sinister, I'm saying, for why the time on his camera seemed to be maybe perfectly a minute, something like a minute and 3 seconds, a minute and 1 second. It's a big difference if it's 1 minute to the frame off. If it's perfectly synchronized to 1/60th of a second increments, but off by 1 second or 1 minute, that would be interesting. If it's off by a minute and 32 seconds, that could be just a guy looking at the microwave, setting his camera to the time. It's approximately close and it's a year and a half later. You get it. It could be a random differential. We don't really know enough about Doug's camera to know that, but what it caused me to realize is we don't know enough about any of this evidence. And we're not going to be able to do Hawkins' ground truth method. So I just figured we needed to decide what was the master clock for the day, because we saw this discrepancy with Doug Mills' camera and the time from CBS. And I first started this by comparing the time from Right Side Broadcasting because we had that time. That time was displayed on their live stream in the corner. It said, 7 o'clock, 7:01, 7:02. And we could download that live stream exactly as they broadcasted. Right Side Broadcasting, they broadcast at a 1080p 60 format. We still have some questions about that. We need to ask Right Side Broadcasting, because things could change from the time they record and stream to the time it actually goes to YouTube. There's still a lot of questions. Drop frame time code, non-drop frame time code. But the point is, we had this 60 frame per second, 10-hour recording of the event, and I said, well, let me presume for a moment that that is the master clock. Because if we didn't have that, we just really don't know anything, and I thought of Hawkins again.
A fundamental question to be asked and answered with regard to July 13th is who controlled the master clock?
Right. Hawkins used to talk about that, I forget what it was called. It's in the Greenwich, the Royal Maritime Museum of Greenwich or something, and it's some kind of maritime clock. It was in the picture there. When it was invented, it was a breakthrough, It's not electronic, obviously. It was mechanical, it was on a gimbal, but whatever. They were able to, through fine machining and better metals and maybe inventing chemical lubricants, who knows what, but somebody was finally able to invent a clock that didn't lose time or whatever, was the most accurate clock you could put on a boat. And so for shipping things and coordinating naval attacks and whatever, the Navy that was equipped with this, accurate and synchronized time could do attacks on other armies that didn't know what the hell time it was. So it just John Cullen's Mega Sync, I said, well, that's interesting. He synced up all these videos and he just sort of put out a YouTube video. We're talking about time, DW. Rewind if you don't understand, but that's a rude question. We're talking about the time. How did we determine the time that at 6:11:33 the first shot was fired? How do they know that? CBS tells you that. How do they know? Have they completed an investigation? See, there's certain things. How do we know? I don't know. Maybe the first shot wasn't at 6:33:11. But the first thing we need to know is who the hell was deciding what time it was, because Doug Mills doesn't agree. And so I decided to create the Giga Sync. And the Giga Sync is a combination of all the known videos, known to me at least. If you know of some, tell me and we'll put them in there, because this is just all the ones that I know about. And I sync them up. Here's the newest one. Oh, I'm covering it. Well, anyway, people can go onto Twitter and see them all. The point of that one is, here, let's play it again. I've got all the videos in there. Well, it won't play again. All the videos in the upper left are the synchronized videos. And I can select one at a time, and that plays on the right there in the sort of program window. And this is a tool. It's a video database that if someone watching this or following on X, if you see something in any of the known videos from July 13th, like, hey, is that the guy in the gray suit? Hey, is that Agent Sketchy of the Secret Service? Is this a guy who looks like Maxwell Yerrick or Keenan Hooper or somebody driving a golf cart? If you see something in a video or part of something or something whizzes by at a certain time, you can contact me. You can go onto X and you can follow me at JG_CSTT. You can send me a direct message on there. You can even watch all of these videos on there. I've created a thread for the GigaSync, which is this giant video database, a project, a multi-camera project in Premiere that I created. And I've done certain specialized things to make it easy to locate events. So here what I've done is I've put out every angle I have of the events that transpired between 6:11 and 30 seconds, 3 seconds before we're told the first shot is fired, according to the master clock. And I'll describe how I decided what is the master clock. This is that guy, Greg Smith. This is all the videos. Right Side Broadcasting, NTD, Unknown Observer in the Stands, Unknown Observer in the Stands, MAGA Dude, Taking Selfie. Anybody who recorded any portion of shots being fired from 6:11 and 30 seconds. Yeah, Golf Cart Dude, anybody. If you see anything of interest in there, let me know. But that particular one, that was 6:11 and 30 seconds, about 3 seconds before the shots were fired, to 6:50. Because at 6:11 and 49 seconds, I believe we're hearing the final shot, the final audible shot. And I've just added one from a guy, forgive me, I just encountered this person today, so I've just learned his name, but there is a new partial recording of 6:11:33 to 49 that came to me from an eyewitness. Oh, well, maybe you can just figure it out. This was Mike Piccirilli. Mike was there in the stands, and when the shooting started, he got his phone out, ducked down, protect his family and everything, got his phone out and just recorded the last bit, but he got the final shot. So that's what's there. That's what's in, this is what I was showing. So for this particular one, we can see in all the other videos in the upper left, that's what's happening in all the other videos before. You can see down at the bottom, the playhead is scrolling across blank video because Mike hasn't started rolling yet. When he begins, we'll hear his sound. And there's the final shot. So see, I'm finding it's quite instructive to listen to all these different videos that we have from the different angles. Like for instance, you know, you can listen to the dash cam. Oh no, sorry, this, somebody saw a person leaving American Glass Research 2 minutes after the shots were fired. And some people think
Blaise
that guy
Pascal
looks like...
used to say, we have an obligation to think hard.
He did say that, David, thank you. AI Hawkins, I mean AI Hawk. People have said that they think that person leaving American Glass Research is Greg Nichols. I don't know if it is or isn't. It looks like him. So now you can look at that and evaluate for yourself. I think this is another Masonic thing. I don't know. I know, you know, other people are going to know more than me, but about that stuff. But you know, so now I have on that X thread, I have a whole thing where you can evaluate all the different, here's Magadude. Oh no, okay, this is the full video. Not the full video rather, but the isolated video. That's the one that Mike shot. Let's see, I thought I had Magadude in here. Yeah, this might be him. No, that's not. Well, anyway, the idea is you can go through there and you can evaluate lots of different views. Maybe this is MAGA dude.
I want to really see something that said, take a look at what
There he
happened.
And you see we've got the time code up there in the upper right.
Down. Stay down.
Oh,
Stay down.
I hope I did that correctly for the other one that I had.
Get down. Get down. Hey, get down. Get down. Get down, guys.
And here's his sound of the final shot. So what did people think? Did you notice a difference in the, obviously the volume, the quality? You know, here outside, this is not a good way to evaluate it, but go on to X. If you're not following me, it's totally free, by the way, to follow me on X. Go on to X, follow me at JG_CSTT. You'll see that initial pinned thread. Click on that, and all of the videos are right in there. You can get to all of those videos and you can listen to each one on your computer with your headphones, listen to them again and again. You can download them. And if you see something, or if you say, hey, you know, in this one, just at the moment that you cut, there's something happening, you know, I can output a new one, longer, you know, or a different section. Or if you're just watching somebody else's videos, or one of these other body cam videos, keep your eye on the time code. If you're gonna do a screen capture of something, just make sure you include that time code, because that's the other thing that I've done with this Giga Sync, is to match them all up to time code. So, and this might get refined as well, but here's how I did that. So I said, okay, the first test of checking it out against Right Side Broadcasting showed that Right Side Broadcasting agrees with CBS and CNN about what time it is. So to me, the most obvious thing was SMPTE, time of day, time code. I realize that might sound strange, maybe, to people who have never heard of that before or don't do anything with that. Oh yeah, I forgot to call my friend in Hollywood who actually makes these types of products, the electronics for things like, you know, sound recorders and slates and all these different things. We were talking before about if you're going to go to a concert and try to edit a concert with your friends, if everybody just rolls a cell phone at a Taylor Swift concert for 3.5 hours, you start recording and then have a 3.5 hour, and then compare your 3.5 hour recording to somebody else's 3.5 hour recording, it's not going to match perfectly, because they're not all shooting at exactly 30 frames per second. Cell phones aren't. Even if you went and bought Sony video cameras at B&H Photo or whatever, they aren't necessarily shooting at the same speed either. But this problem was solved a long time ago. SMPTE, that's the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers. And pretty early, you know, when they had television, they were like, hey, this is a problem. We want more than one camera, but when we switch, it's like boing, and it goes crazy, and the signal is all over the place, and the equipment all gets thrown out of whack. Forget about editing. So what they needed was all of this electronic equipment to be operating on the same timing frequency, so that they all knew exactly what time it was, and so that they were all anticipating this 1/30th or 1/60th of a second to shoot a video frame and record it to happen at the exact same second. Now, obviously, we don't have that. Fucking asshole. Obviously, we don't have that when there's 1,000 people standing around looking at Donald Trump who don't even know each other and each have cell phones. So that's one problem. But forget about that. Anyway, so SMPTE, the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, they solved this problem by coming up with this time code called SMPTE time code. It's a ratified standard, you know, like an algorithm or whatever, a bit. It's this whole thing that's defined with how information is written and read, and it's a ratified standard, I guess, is what you would call it. And, you know, any broadcasting company is using it. It's just, that's the broadcasting standard. So that makes sense that CNN and CBS and Right Side Broadcasting Network and NBC and all of those things that broadcast and have, oh, wait a minute. Did each of them have their own separate feed? I haven't looked for those yet. If people know about like CBS, because somebody said CNN was live there, I should look for a CNN video of 6/11/33. But anyway, it just, when I synchronized through this GigaSync, the Right Side Broadcasting Network video with all the other videos, it started to become clear that SMPTE time of day time code was the master clock. And I was able to determine that because when I downloaded the Right Side Broadcasting original 10-hour video and I put it onto the timeline in Adobe Premiere is what I'm doing to conduct this GigaSync project. And the other thing that's cool about it is I can search around for particular things based on somebody saying something. This is amazing. This is a really powerful way to interface with literally gigabytes. This could quickly become the TerraSync, but for now it's the GigaSync. But I mean, you know, if there's something that, like if you want to know, oh, when Trump was talking about that congressman and they had the video of the dude running on the roof, go to that part. You can search by what Trump was saying. So it's a powerful way to interface with this bad evidence that we have. And the reason I wanted to do it is because Hawkins used to always talk about ground truth, and we can't really ground truth this because it's over. And even in terms of like measuring where things hit and whatnot, all of that portable equipment is gone. So we really need to very carefully scrutinize this poor quality, I don't even want to call it evidence, these elements that we have that may or may not be evidence, because there's also a lot of people injecting false information, showing you water towers that aren't the correct water tower, showing you AI up-res stuff that maybe isn't there. Now there was an account, somebody was telling me, let's look at this. This is another thing I did with the GigaSync. So an account from somebody that I don't know posted something and I said, well, let me check it out. And it's not a matter of, oh, I trust Jason and I don't trust this other guy. It's a matter of, I'm gonna describe my process and I'm gonna make everything as transparent as I possibly can. Now, do people see what just happened in that little circle on the right? I'll show it again and watch. Hopefully this is gonna illustrate to people what the GigaSync thing is capable of. And the reason I'm telling everybody about this is because this is a crowdsourcing tool. I've kind of somewhat, or I'm trying to kind of systematize crowdsource investigative journalism. Well, what do I mean? So like about 7 or 8 years ago, I came up with this idea, and I'm not saying I invented it. People misconstrue what I say all the time. I realized, I discovered, I did not invent, but I discovered for myself something that other people were also aware of, this process of crowdsource journalism. The notion of sort of going around and gathering evidence and doing interviews and things like that and getting feedback from people, and this kind of cumulative knowledge gathering process. And it was fascinating. Some people call it open source intelligence gathering. It's very effective. And at first people were skeptical of it and made fun of it and, you know, all that. But now I think people realize it works really well. Particularly, I mean, a lot of people have been realizing on this Donald Trump assassination attempt investigation that it's independent journalism and crowdsource driven investigative journalism. And I don't mean my brand, Crowdsource the Truth. I mean the action of crowdsourcing information. It's super powerful, particularly because the government is trying to control information, the Secret Service, the FBI, whoever is in charge of this investigation, Congress, who wants to have some stupid committee that won't even have the members who are military experienced snipers and want to get to the bottom of it. Obviously, it's an attempt to manipulate the evidence. So we have to be very careful in how we handle and evaluate what we're given, because I see a lot of people trying to trick us. So let's look at that thing again, because I want people to understand what I'm showing. This was, somebody said, oh, there's a dude walking across on the building, and if you see the lower corner there, we got one red arrow on the bottom, there's a dude walking on the street, and there's a dude up top walking on the building. You can see him. And so somebody posted that, and I said, well, I don't know that person. So maybe that's happening in the video, or maybe somebody added some funky shenanigans. Let's check it out. So what's my process, and why should somebody trust me over anybody else? Well, you shouldn't. You shouldn't trust me. You should check everything I say. So I'm going to explain what I did, and if you don't trust me, you're free to check it. I got that body cam video, and you see the one I just showed everybody, I left the body cam designation, the name of it, and the time code numbers. I left them in the video so that now when I share it, other people can see where that came from and go to it and verify. So what I did is I went to the Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch Dropbox. They did a FOIA against the cops and got that stuff released. And so they've put it out on their website or their Twitter or whatever. And so that's sort of like the collectively agreed upon public release of that information, unless the cops or Tom Fitton did something untoward. And I don't think Tom Fitton did. I don't know what the cops did. I don't know what either of those parties did. But the point is, I'm accessing the publicly available stuff. And what I just showed you right there are the only and obvious changes I made to it. I'm branding my Giga Sync stuff with that Crowdsource the Truth GigaSync logo, and I'm just, playing. Did that stop? It's quite obvious what I've changed, and I'm pointing out that it seems to be two people walking. Now, obviously, it's insufficient resolution there to tell who that is. I certainly have no idea, but it is interesting to note. Oh, I didn't bring the corresponding video, but if you go onto Twitter, you can see that I went and looked at the part where James Copenhaver has recorded somebody walking across the roof, as was played on Fox News, and it's within 30 seconds of this happening. So the events seem related. It's more evidence that somebody is walking around on the roof. Who is it? To me, it's quite interesting that nearly simultaneously, it's not just somebody walking around on the roof. There's a guy who passes. It seems coordinated, doesn't it? I mean, how can that not be coordinated? Let me get that. Here we got a guy, almost, they pass each other. Look at the arrows when they meet, right there at the corner of the building. I mean, I don't see this happening, but somebody could have dropped something down or thrown something up or shouted a message. Like, what the hell is going on there? Is that not at least suggestive of coordination? Plus, we've already looked at this video that people think is Greg Nichols leaving the building at 6:13 and 30 seconds, less than 2 minutes after shots have been fired, perhaps from inside the building. Do people find it strange that Nichols, according to CBS News, was the guy who supplied those photographs of crooks? Remember, looking down, he says, hey, this guy is walking around and stalking around the building. So if you've got somebody walking this way and people follow him around, and then someone's passing exactly where that guy is, the other direction on the roof, does this explain why people who maybe weren't in on this goofy trick couldn't find one kid walking around in an empty field around a giant building? You got like 10 cops with cars and vehicles, somebody on a horse, you can't find this idiot? And then the other thing is, if you watch that dash cam, I wonder if they anticipated that being there. Obviously they couldn't have. There's like 5 guys, skinny white guys with beards and pale legs, walking around in cargo shorts. That's weird, isn't it? What the hell are all those guys doing in American Glass Research? Are they going to a What's My Line taping? What's that show where everybody is like, I'm an airline pilot, I'm an airline pilot, I'm an airline pilot. And you have to guess, what's that show? What's My Line? That's the show. Those guys know what I'm talking about. What's My Line? And you have to guess who's telling the truth, right? I think that's it. But why do we have like 5 pale-legged, bearded white dudes in shorts walking around this building at exactly coincident times that some bearded white guy is on the roof and nobody's doing anything about it? I don't know the answer. It just seems super weird to me. Did I show this already? I did. This is the Doug Mills trying to get some motion on that. Yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to tell everybody about this GigaSync. It's a big deal. Okay, right. So when John made the MegaSync, I guess maybe there's a Greek restaurant coming in here. That could be all right. I saw it and I said, this is a good idea. You know, he's essentially just done a synchronized edit of multi-camera stuff and put out a video. And it's a useful research tool. I watched it a few times and I said, it's interesting to observe the differences. I mean, you could hear sort of in this soup of sound all this different stuff. And it just immediately occurred to me, like, this is interesting, but not that useful from an ongoing research kind of point of view. But it made me think, if I did make a very well organized multi-camera project that allowed me to switch between, you know, synchronize all the things and switch between them, it would allow me to search in the way that I am, and we'd learn lots and lots and lots of things about all this content. Right, I keep forgetting to describe how I arrived at the universal clock. So I got that full 10-hour right side broadcasting, and I went right to 5:59 p.m. and I, with just, you know, one frame at a time, when 5:59 became 6, that was SMPTE time of day. Oh, you know what? So here's where an error could be introduced. We need to know if right side broadcasting is drop frame or non-drop frame. I guess it could be automatically detected, but again, we would want to know if that was put in there properly by YouTube. I would assume it is, but again, there's a lot of ways that errors can get introduced, and when we're talking about 10 hours of continuous time code, the way that drop frame time code works is it actually drops certain numbers, doesn't drop video frames, but it drops certain numbers to compensate for the differences that get introduced when you try to make reality fit into a quantized thing. Like, you know, 24 frames per second is all good and nice when we're making a movie and you're just gonna, like, you know, take these pictures and then project them, and that's the movie. But when you're talking about 10 hours of pictures of reality, and, you know, they're taken in 1/62nd and 1/60th of a second and represented to you in 1/60th of a second, what I'm getting at is certain errors are introduced by all these processes, and when you start multiplying them by 10 hours and comparing something shot at 60 frames per second to something shot at 29.3 frames per second, these are practical problems. Wow, this cookie place is just out of control. Are they giving away money over there or what? That place has been there for a while, but they must have crack in the cookies all of a sudden. Hunter Biden is releasing limited edition cookies. This lady needs a cookie. But anyway, I was able to determine pretty close, within plus or minus, let's say 10 frames, which is a fraction of a second. But setting the time for my master clock on the GigaSync to 6 p.m., 0 seconds, 0 minutes, 0 frames, bunch of idiots right there. That gave me my starting point. And then I put that SMPTE timecode generator on there and synchronize all the other videos, the ones where we hear the shooting. I can synchronize based on when the shots come, and then that whole clip now has time code on it. So it's a helpful way for us to identify specific time frames within this whole incident across a wide range of cameras. The other thing is, I discovered the Beaver County ESU, they have a totally different time. They're like 4 minutes off from the SMPTE time of day time code and the master clock of this event. And that got me thinking about Hawkins again, because he would undoubtedly have theories about, you know, who was controlling the master clock and how doing that could allow you to coordinate an event like this while keeping your opponents, your enemies, whatever you want to call them, completely in the dark. Who knew what the hell time it was? But now we have the Giga Sync. So if you see anything in there that is interesting and you think you see something and want me to search a time period, send me a DM on Twitter. If you have a video that's not in there, send me a DM, send me an email, truth@crowdsourcethetruth.org, and we'll get it in there. And, you know, search those videos on X, listen to the sound, tell me what you hear. It sounds very different in the different locations, the different shots. I think people are gonna take these sounds and now dig in and study each shot. Like, how does this shot sound from this angle compared to this angle? And it's gonna help people locate. I don't know, maybe not locate, but it'll help people understand something about it, I hope. That's my hope. If you like this effort, if you like Crowdsource the Truth, even just watching the free shows, please become a sponsor. Go to odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. It's only $3 a month, plus a 58-cent Odyssey fee, just one of the artificial intelligence tools that I use. That's a new method for making the AI Hawkins, but it's $5 a week. That's a pricey software model. But anyway, thanks to those who are sponsoring on all the channels. Have a great evening, everybody. Check out the Giga Sync on X. Oh yeah, and Trump and Musk. The internet might explode tonight. Thanks for watching, everybody.